weekly once again. It is February the 22nd. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great. I'm waiting for a big snowstorm on the East Coast. We're probably gonna get at least a foot of snow.
It's absolutely relentless over there. We don't have any
Relentless.
snow over here, but it is getting slightly warmer, but it hasn't stopped raining for about 3 months. I'm pretty sure I say that every time I come on stream. Um, but yeah, how was your trading last week, Kay? Was that okay?
Trading was okay, I would say. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. It was, I guess, a non-event.
Yeah.
Friday was interesting. I will tell you that.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll get into that a bit later on then.
Yeah,
My
we
trading
should.
this week was pretty good. I didn't actually trade a lot. I only made one trade. I basically started a position in Snap Call for 1 month out. But we'll probably get into that a bit later on. As always, make sure you put your stock ticker requests in the comments. We'll get to them probably about 15, 20 minutes or so after our normal passage of play. And of course, massive thank you to Wolf as well for actually the platform. We really, really appreciate it. At Wolf Financial on X, which I'm sure you're aware of, but yeah, provides such good information for the industry. And obviously, lastly, we're just a couple of guys on the internet looking at charts, giving our perspectives, so we don't take it for financial advice. Yeah, so we jump into the slideshow, then, Kay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, what I do need to do actually, I'm going to get you to talk through the layout here, but I need to sort it because Restream still haven't sorted out the
Okay,
issue.
no worries.
So I just need
All
to
right,
post
so
it. So
no worries. So, well, we generally, for folks who tune in every time, this is our agenda for today's call. We go through the market overview, we give our commentary on how things are going, which includes fear and greed, what the earnings coming up. We'll then touch upon the SPY and QQQ charts. We'll also talk about a little game that we play on a weekly basis on how we are performing on our picks, and then we share our picks with you for the upcoming, which for this week it's NIO for Shaun and Meta for me. And then we open it up for audience that you can request any ticker, and then we'll just open up that ticker and give you our perspective. So that's pretty much on the agenda for next week. Keep in mind that next week is the last week for the February earnings. The February trading, and it's actually packed with a lot of earnings, especially the big one, which is Nvidia reports earning.
yeah, lots of great earnings this week. It's going to be an interesting tab to look at when we get there eventually. Thank you for following through there, Kay. We're all up and running on X now, which is good to see. So last week's stock performance, I mean, it's actually pretty green, overall. So we can see on the screen here, obviously, Nvidia, Apple up kind of 1% ish. Slightly higher in the green, we've got Google, Meta, and Amazon, as you can see across the top there. Microsoft actually posting slightly red, and of course Tesla slightly red as well. Any other names on there that kind of point out to you here, Kay?
Let me see. Do, 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 do,
Not a
do.
huge amount, is there really?
No, it's pretty flat. Even when we look at the SPY and QQQ, it was pretty flat.
Yeah, okay. So there's not really too much to report here. I mean, Amazon up doing pretty well, kind of 5.65%, but of course they've become beaten down the last few weeks. So they're kind of trading not but kind of down to flat-ish at the moment. Perhaps we can have a little look at that a bit later on, if we don't get too many requests. Okay, let's move on to the next one then, which is fear and greed, still sitting around that kind of middle mark, slightly in fear this week. So that's 43. Last week was at 36, so slightly up high, which makes a lot of sense. SPY being up 1%, as you can see on the left there. QQQ as well on the left, but we've got slightly less news this week, which is interesting. I'm sure Donald Trump will have his way with the media, of course. But yeah, you've got PPI numbers here. Is that right?
Yeah, the PPI is probably end of the week. Hopefully we get it. By the way, because there are issues with the federal funding. So various departments within the federal organization, are not working because they're not getting paid. So I don't know how that's going to impact the PPI. Last week we heard from the Supreme Court that the tariffs are illegal specifically for one category, which was applied for the entire world. So more to unravel, and then of course Donald Trump came out and mentioned that he's going to slap a 15% tariff or 10% tariff. Again, it's not clear because things change on the fly. So we'll try to see what happens in the coming week, especially in the market, because a lot of stocks that after Supreme Court did that ruling, stocks really went up after that. Things were going down throughout Friday morning, and then after the ruling came out, stocks rebounded. And you can see in the put to call ratio, actually it increased. It was 0.71 last week when we
Yeah.
reported, and then now it's 0.84. So as it gets closer to 1, market gets more bearish. VIX hasn't really changed much. It was 20 plus when we reported last Sunday, and now it's 19, so it has come down. But put to call is the key here. And you can see from SPY and QQQ, it's pretty flat, 1%.
Yeah, I think what you're kind of touching on there is it's a lot of noise in the market. Things can go um, good one day and then down the next day. But I think just taking care of your positions, whether they be kind of day trades, of course, just sitting out, sizing down throughout this kind of volatility, or if you really like the volatility and you're playing it really well, then congratulations. Obviously, swing trades, kind of sitting back and taking profits when you can. Yeah, no, it's an interesting market for sure. Hello, says Vola. Hello to you too. Welcome back. We've had you on a few times, or more than a few times, I'd say. We've got a couple of requests here, ONDS and Cypher. Keep them coming in throughout the stream. We'll get to them probably about 10, 15 minutes or so. Well, not about 10 minutes maybe. But yeah, keep them coming in and we'll get to them a bit later on. Okay, the next slide is probably the most interesting slide we've got prepared for us today. It's earnings, and it's a big week in earnings, not in terms of, I mean, obviously Nvidia is the biggest name, of course, but I'm kind of going to float around a little bit here. So for me personally, there's quite a few names I'm interested in. We've got Hims and Hers after the close on Monday. See how the recent stock prices kind of affected their fundamentals, whether it's affected them at all, or they're going to post a beat, etc. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what they do. Tuesday before market open, we've got Home Depot. That's always an interesting one to watch for consumer kind of momentum. And then after the close on Tuesday, we've got Zeta, ZETA, which is one of those popular names out there. So I'm sure people will be stuck to the screen for that one. Of course, we've got Tempest AI as well, a bit further down. And if you still kind of trade AMC, which I'm sure no one ever does anymore, we've got AMC after the close on Tuesday. Moving on to Wednesday in the morning, we've got Hot 8 Mining. I'm not too sure anyone really looks at that one anymore, but it's worth kind of pointing out, I guess. Wednesday is a big day for probably more so for Kaye, actually. Got NVIDIA, Trade Desk, Salesforce, Snowflake. Really big day on Wednesday. You're going to be there with the popcorn on Wednesday, Kaye?
I will, yeah.
Yeah, I think I will be too. And on Thursday, another big day as well. So we've got CoreWeave, Rocket Lab, Marathon, Dell, and Zscaler, which is actually behind Kaye's head there. But yeah, it's a really interesting week of earnings. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of these stocks within their portfolio. Would you agree?
I agree, and I think one of the key ones is actually a lot of mining stocks are reporting earnings. So you have Cipher Mining, which is one of the ticker requests. You also have Mara that you talked about. I think there's a couple other that I saw as well. Hut is third one.
Right, yeah.
Circle. Then you have CoreWeave on Thursday, which we were tracking last week. Last week was a pretty bad one. Actually, EOS is another one that I'll be watching very closely. EOS, yeah. And then everybody's hating on Duolingo. So Duolingo is also reporting earnings on Thursday. It's right after Zscaler. So that's going to be an interesting one too.
Yeah, that's behind us on the screen there, just in case you can't see it. Yeah, we've got a few more requests here from Nihalala. Good to have you back once again. And of course, Money Manage is back once again as well. Good to have you back. Crowd Nebius T7, which is a new one, perhaps. And we've got another one here from JCP, CLSK.
Yeah, Clean Spark.
Say that probably. Yeah. And
Clean
then
Spark,
Internet of Things, IoT.
Yeah, so it
which is
seems
probably
like
not
we
the
have
best, but
ton of requests, so we'll move through quickly
yeah.
on our segment so that we can cover all of
I
these
think that's
names.
Kaye's way of saying go to the next slide, Shaun. So we'll do that then.
Oh, you changed this. That's great.
I changed my charts. Yeah, I just fancied a bit of a change. Kind of, it's basically an inversion of what I had essentially. So before I had obviously dark charts with white and yellow candles, but I just kind of inverted it. Fancied a bit of change. But you can see on the left there we've got SPY daily, and on the right we've got QQQ weekly. We've got a bit of a range that's kind of forming on the left side there on the SPY daily. We kind of, I don't think the market's got to get really excited to the downside or to the upside until we get out of this range. And I'm interested to see what your thoughts are on this range in a second. But while we're here on the QQQ, we can see we're kind of dropping down from that Fibonacci level of 620. But last week was an interesting week because we've set a nice bullish engulfing candle on
Yeah,
the weekly. And I think that's the same for,
daily.
not quite the same for the SPY, but for the QQQ is as well. But yeah, what's your thought on the range on the left side, or something else that you might want to bring up for everyone?
I think ideally you can pretty much do a wheel strategy on SPY because it's basically in this range. But we did have an engulfing candle on Friday daily for SPY,
Yeah.
because things really turned around after the ruling came out. And um, but I also feel like market is especially not sure whether this is a good news or a bad news. Because if you think about it, the other pieces of information, if you trust them, the unemployment numbers have not gone up, the inflation has ticked slightly lower, uh, but then that leads to a delay in the rate cut. So if you were hoping for a massive rate cut, that might not come. And so the tariffs have been stuck down, but now we are talking about the refunds, and the refunds will most likely lead to another lawsuit, which means that you're looking for another months, maybe years before refunds can actually be completed. So I don't think market really understands whether it's good or bad, because neither we are understanding nor the economics are understanding like what exactly is going to happen. And I
Yeah.
think
Very
that's
much.
this, we are in this like no man's zone kind of, and that's why we are chopping.
It's almost like they're using it as an excuse to kind of buy until they've decided actually want to sell.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I'm not going to get excited or even start any new positions um, in terms of like a bigger cap scale. What I mean, like Microsoft, Meta, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Until we get out of this range of sorts. So I'm not going to be adding to any of those positions. I might play a few options trade here and there, but yeah, it's interesting where we are the market in the market at the moment. But you said obviously the bullish engulfing there on the left there. It's
Yeah.
actually bullish engulfing for the last 2 days, which is pretty good, considering we only had 4 days of trading last week. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll move on then to the next one, and this is our past performance. I won last week just about, and we both got negative, negative numbers. But I think the overall chat around these two stocks was more longer term,
Yeah.
as it quite often is. It's more kind of few months to actually more towards maybe a year. So yeah, I might have taken the win this week, which was nice, of course, and it's still level pegging for the year. But yeah, I think those both of those picks, if you go back and look at them, I think they're very long term focused. Okay, where can we find you then, Kay?
You can find me on X, YouTube, and Substack. Pretty standard with the
Yep,
handle
at,
InvestK.
at InvestK. Yes, you got all of those. Got Twitter, YouTube, and Substack. Same for me as well. Obviously, I do YouTube and Twitter only, not Substack. At Shaun Trades underscore. Everything I post on X, I think, is fairly valuable. And obviously, YouTube, I do lots of live streams throughout the week, live trading. So go ahead and jump over there, and we'll catch you on the live stream, or catch me on the live stream, I guess. But yeah, we'll move on to the next one, and this is my pick of the week, which is NIO.
Yeah.
This is again similar to last week when I picked Joby. It's a bit more of a longer term pick for me, as it normally is with NIO. But really, I wanted to kind of point out this obviously the weekly chart, as you can see on the screen there. The trend line that's been set from kind of October of last year, you can see obviously on the screen, coming down across the highs in the last few months. And we're just poking out. We had a bit of a break last week, but it wasn't, it was a very undecisive break. You can see here the candle is a bit of a doji candle just before the one we've just set. And then this one we've just set this last week, it's nothing to write home about. But you can see it's a move up and it's a close above the last two candles. I probably should have zoomed in a bit for this. But another kind of good thing to kind of go along with this chart is the volume profile on the right side here. We've got 450, which is a very key level. I mentioned that a few weeks ago on X. I wanted to come down to about 450, 430. It's done that. It's not bounced fully, but it's reacting well off of that level. So what I want to see this week is a break of this, most recent high of the candle a couple of weeks ago, which is about 520, I think, off the top of my head. So if we get above 520, I think this particular stock could move quite aggressively, because it has done in the past. You can see it on the chart here, in previous weekly candles, even all the way back here as well. So just one to keep an eye on. I'm not saying trade it. By all means, go in and do all you want to do. Just make sure you risk appropriately, size appropriately. But it's not me telling you to buy the stock. It's just me making you aware that this stock, could potentially go. I'm in the stock already. Everyone knows that. I'm pretty sure people watching this, Kaye, obviously you know this. I'm in NIO pretty big. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the stock. But yeah, I think it could be ready to kind of move. What are your thoughts on this particular stock? Well,
I think
move.
you really made a killing on the last run for Neo,
Yeah,
right?
did. Yeah.
And I think from my perspective, I think this is a clear break retest. But then you have a lot of volume at that level. So, I mean, is there any catalyst that's coming up for NIO anytime soon?
Yeah, net profit.
Oh, it's
So
coming up.
yeah, so
Ooh.
they posted this is that the little bit of a move here. You can
Yeah.
see a few weeks ago.
Okay.
That's them posting an article related to becoming profitable, essentially.
Oh, I, I,
So
I,
that's
I think when Rivian was in the news 2 weeks back or a week back, I saw a lot of NIO posts that were very. I should they were like pretty against Rivian. Um, but
yeah.
I
I
was
don't
like,
know why that is. I mean, they're very different markets, but essentially China
yeah,
and US. Neo's not going to go to the US anytime soon, and Vivian's
nope,
probably not going to go to China anytime soon. So
yeah,
there's no harm in if you're into electric vehicles to owning them both potentially.
yeah.
To kind of cover both markets. We've spoken
That
about
that was an
Tesla loads
interesting,
of times, but
yeah, that was an interesting take from some of the NIO bulls, I guess.
yeah. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting move. Obviously, as we mentioned, the news article around profitability. Earnings will be just around the corner. They haven't confirmed a date yet, but it'll be early March, I reckon.
Mm,
Tends to be around that sort of time. So, be interesting to get that kind of confirmation and obviously a bit of momentum back into the stock because it definitely needs it. It's kind of in this range now between kind of 350 to 8 for the last couple of years. So yeah, okay. That's my pick of the week, which is Neo. Let's move on to your pick of the week, which I think is Meta this week.
Meta, yeah. I mean, it's kind of sort of rare that I discuss Meta. I generally don't trade Meta, but funny thing is, I have been trading Meta lately for a while now, and I kind of put together a couple bullet points on which you can read it. But basically, right now Meta is trading under 200 and just under 300 before that massive move that we saw on Friday. Um, and then which basically also means that this trend line that we had was kind of retested, and we could see, on a bullish side, we could see that it could reclaim the 665, and that's what we are hoping it will do. But if that happens and we are able to actually go above the 200 day SMA, then that becomes its support level, and then you can kind of start to see that the trend reversing for Meta. Now, generally, for stocks like Meta, whenever they are trading 200 day or 300 day below their average, these stocks, once they rebound, they capture those levels pretty fast, as long as you can go and track all the times they have done that. And that also changes the narrative because of the whole the run of the market, right? But on the flip side, if it rejects 665, you could start to see it getting closer to the previous levels of 645, and then there is a gap at the 550 560 level, but that would also tank the market if it starts heading towards that direction. So I don't see the 560 gap fill happening anytime soon, but we do have some resistance on the upside. But again, this could trade in the range.
Yeah, definitely looks a bit range bound at the moment. There's a bit of a gap here as well at
Yeah,
620. And it hasn't quite filled that on its last move. That's something I would be looking at personally. A rejection off of this level, as you obviously
yeah,
you mentioned. If we get that rejection, then that'll be a first target for me. Might be about 610 actually, top of my head. But and that obviously retraces back down to this trend line. We didn't hit it perfectly recently, but of course trend lines are never perfect, and that's
yeah.
a good tip for everyone watching as well. Maybe draw 2 or 3 trend lines just instead of one. But yeah, I like the where the RSI is. It's very neutral.
Exactly.
It just displays that anything could happen really.
And just to add for folks, if you trade options on the big ones like Max 7, Meta has 3 expirations for the week. It's Monday expiration, Wednesday expiration, and Friday expiration. What does that do? That brings more liquidity in the market. That brings more liquidity in the ticker itself. So which means that the stock gets recycled much faster than a weekly expiration or a monthly expiration. That's why there's just a lot of trading that happens, and that's why you see these movements of 1%, 2%. Meta is a very big company. 1 2%, you don't see 7 10% of move on Meta. That's going to be very massive for the market cap. But because of these uh, more number of expirations, that brings more liquidity, which means more trading, which means more volume profile. Just interesting stock to trade if you are in Meta.
Are you looking for any specific trades with Meta at all at the moment or not?
No, this is mostly for income generation. So I'm basically looking at mostly selling at the money, and I don't really care about capital appreciation. I care about more generating income from Meta. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Um, I don't trade Meta much at all, to be fair,
yeah,
on a shares basis or even an options basis, or even day trading. Really, I just don't really. It's one of those where I keep looking at the chart and I think, oh, actually, this is a great setup. You know, in the past, not so much now, of course, but in the past, I'm thinking, oh, this is great, and then I come back to it a couple of months later and I'm thinking, I could have made so much more money there,
yeah.
or money in general, not more money. But yeah, it's one of those names that just keeps escaping me. A bit like AMD as well. That just escapes me. Have you got any names that just escape you sometimes?
Oh, many. I think,
Yeah, too many. Yeah,
and if you ask me, I don't remember it right now, but there's just ton of names
yeah.
that
People
I've
just put them
gotten
in nicely.
after the run has happened, like Rocket Lab, like the entire space segment.
Yeah, ASTS is one of those that pops
ASTS,
up.
Rocket Lab, like yeah,
It's part of trading, isn't it? You miss out on a lot of names, but if you get that one every now and then, it makes it very, very rewarding. And I'm sure a lot of the viewers that are watching now are thinking exactly the same thing. But yeah, we're going to go into the audience request section now. We've had a good couple of picks there. I picked NIO and Kaye picked Meta. If you just come in, obviously just rewind maybe 5-10 minutes or so, and you can get that information as you see wish. That's not even a saying, but we will move into the charts now. Right.
the first one is ONDS, and this is the
Yes.
drone related company.
Yes, I've been looking at drones a lot recently. That might be why someone's brought this up. I don't know if they follow me or not. I'm not sure. But it's JCP, I believe. I've been looking at the whole industry. So you've got EVTL, you've got Joby, you've got ACHR, you've got this one, of course. And then you've got, I think I've got AVAV. I'm not too sure if that's fully drones, but I think it's defense related and they do have drones in there. But of course, we're looking at ONDS. This is interesting. Let's have a little look here. Do you ever trade drone stocks? Are you interested in them at all?
I have not traded drone stocks, but I started getting into the space one, like Rocket Lab.
Yeah. Um,
I think I did have ONDS call option. That was for just a very quick trade, though. It wasn't. I didn't do much research or anything specific. Just a quick setup looked good, so I entered, closed it out for like 30-40% profit.
okay. I mean, obviously we had a bit of a red day on. Well, a bit of a red day. We had a 12% down day. Did they report earnings? No, they didn't. Earnings are expected mid-March, and
Yeah,
no
11th,
specific day just yet. Oh, okay, the
11th.
11th.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
this says. 11th.
Um, but maybe if we retrace back down to this kind of 960 level, that could be a place to kind of get in potentially because you've got that essentially, if you do get in around this sort of area, you have a nice tight stop loss around here, with obviously a target of back up to the top of this range, which would represent about 80%, give or take, of course, back up to the 17 level. So that could be a potential trade for sure. And of course, if you do get the right move initially over the first few days, you might want to, and I definitely would, just bring that stop loss straight up. So it's a break-even trade. So of course you don't lose any money, or if you do, you lose very little money, unless it gaps down, of course. But that's part of trading. Yeah, I mean, I like this. I'm going to add it to my watch list. I think it's one of those stocks that's obviously escaped me because I've got lots of other
Mm.
drone stocks, but not so much this one. But yeah, thank you very much, JCP, for bringing this one up.
And just to add to that, what you said, there's a 25% short interest on this stock.
Is there really? Wow.
Mhm.
You know, Hims actually has got 40% short interest. I think that's crazy. Came out of nowhere the other
I
day.
think at some point the shorts will have to cover him. So we can cover that later. But okay, next one is Cipher Mining, CIFR. And they report earnings this week.
Another um, mining stock reporting earnings this week.
Let me see what is their move generally. I'll tell you.
Probably quite large, I imagine. The
So
last one was a gap up.
Yeah, so their predicted move is about 16%, but their actual move is generally 8%. And the market always overestimates the move from the earnings wrong about 75% of the time. So basically, they only get it right 1 out of 4 times,
Yeah.
which means that you're looking at, let's say, an average move of about 8 to 10%, I would say, if that's, if, yeah, I mean, this is an asymmetrical trade that you can take, um, that it will not move like 16%. So the way I will look at this trade, and you tell me what your thoughts are. The way, if I was playing this, I would do maybe a iron condor with about 10% move plus minus. That's how I would trade this one, because I'm expecting that regardless of the direction, it will not move more than 8 9%, because it only moves 1 out of 4 times beyond that level.
Yeah. No, for me personally, it'd be just a straight shares trade, I think, or maybe even if we did get a breakout and and a retest, perhaps maybe a fairly short term option. I don't know. I'm still getting into options. You'd probably have better feedback on that one. But
Yeah,
obviously
because
the initial move,
you're playing a directional move. I'm playing
yeah, bound range
regardless
bound.
of the
Yeah.
direction, as long as it stays in that range, I'm fine.
But yeah, I would be looking simply at a breakout of this trend to the upside. I wouldn't be interested to the downside because it is a descending wedge. So downside normally means to a lot more downside. But of course, you did mention we have earnings on Tuesday. Tuesday
So
or
there are two
Tuesday.
key events actually for this stock.
Okay.
One is the earnings, which is Tuesday, I think, before market open, and the second is if USA announces that they are actually proceeding with the attack on Iran. That kind of bumps up the stock as well, right? Because they are, sorry, no, that was ONDS. Sorry, yes, you're right. This is cipher mining. I'm mixing the two. Yeah, yeah. See,
But a long weekend due for UK.
yeah, very very long
um,
week.
but yeah, very much so. Just kind of breaking out, retesting, and making a move higher is essentially what we're looking at here for cipher mining. That would represent actually a 50% move to the upside. But yeah, we'll move on.
Next is AXON. Even looking at Mara is down, trading at $7.97. Just crazy. All these stocks are like hammered.
I'm not, I'm not the biggest fan of mining stocks. They're just so volatile.
It is. Yeah.
I used to be, but then you think you've conquered them, and then bang, you get humbled. But that's
I
quite the
think
past.
crypto is generally are is not doing very well,
No,
because
no,
Tom
not at
Lee's
all.
hair is all nice. He has all the time in the world to fix his hair, to go on interviews.
I mean, Bitcoin is 67,000.
Bitcoin
Anyway, we move on to
67, and BMNR is trading at $20. It was one of the hottest retail tickers.
I'm sure it'll be back at some point.
No, it will. I think it will be back, and it will go back to it's 40%, $40, and we are back on risk on. Market is not risk on at this point in time. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, it's been risk on for a couple of years, so naturally it will kind of calm down. So
Yeah.
this is Axon. This is Axon Enterprise. That I'm not actually too sure what they do, but we've got a trend line that goes back to July or June actually of 2022, and we've had a pretty rough last month to be honest with Axon. Who brought this one up? It was near Halala. I was never sure if I actually say that name properly, so I apologise if I've got it wrong. But you can see here, obviously, retracing back down to the bottom of that trend line, which is really nice to see. Got a bit of a bounce a couple of weeks ago, but we want to see something a bit more substantial than that. If we zoom in a bit more, obviously this is the weekly chart I'm looking at. Um, this this candle here, which was not last week but the week before, um, again kind of pushing down for more negative side. So I wouldn't be getting this for upside. Maybe if I knew and loved the company, I might nibble and add at these levels. Obviously, it is a trend line after all. But in terms of starting a trade, I definitely wouldn't start a trade here. Let's go into the daily chart and see what's going on. Yeah, similar sort of thing. It's just, yeah, it's a bit of a wedge here, so it could go either way. Lots of volume at this level, which is interesting. We could get a fairly quick move back to kind of 540 if we were to kind of go up. But yeah, I think if you were going to get in, if you wanted to get in this sort of area, nice tight stop loss down here.
Yeah, but
Um,
the
I,
but the overall trend until it really reverses. If you remember, very similar trend in AMD. It remained in a downtrend for more than a year.
hmm,
You would see these little pop-ups until we saw that real breakout happen. So, you probably want to prepare for that massive breakout, but this is not a it's not a chart that I would also enter at this point in time.
no, but I can see the appeal and maybe the concern that someone has brought this up. Um, okay, we'll move on
Next
then.
is APP, Aplovian. Oh, this
Pavlovian.
this stock is also has been hammered, right?
Yeah, considering where it was, yeah, it has been hammered for sure. This is the weekly chart that we've got up on the screen here. So very volatile. Kind of, let's have a look. I mean,
I mean, honestly,
two
compared to
years
some of
ago,
the other SaaS companies, this is not that bad. This is only down 42% from the highs of December.
oh look, another long-term trend line. Um, kind of sitting there, reacted really nicely last week.
That's a weekly.
Um, this is a weekly chart, yeah.
Mm.
This is always nice to see a weekly chart to see where the moving averages are. I've switched back to simple moving averages just to give it a go. You know, changing everything at the moment. It seems, but nothing there much on the simple moving averages there. What have we got in terms of? There's
But
been
I
big
think
weekly
I
highs,
think on
haven't
the
there?
weekly, this is the key, right? This trend line should be respected.
Yeah, and we have obviously lots of trading within this sort of area between 300 and 400 essentially. It's a big range to be fair. Lots of volume here on the right side, so rightly so, it should be bouncing at this level. Textbook wise, it should be bouncing. In terms of near-term resistance, of course, the kind of screaming out for me is obviously previous resistance here back in February of 25 and support here back in November of 25. So if you can get back up to 520, that's a pretty good return actually. Over 30, almost 40%, I guess. Let's have a look.
So would you
30%. Yeah.
so in this sort of a setup, would you enter um at at what point would you enter? Would you wait for a couple more candles to respect the trend line to enter position? Or
So this is the weekly. Let's jump into the daily.
Mhm.
It would be hard because obviously you've got this range that we've previously drawn here.
Yeah.
Perhaps we would be looking for a push out of this range. Where's my brush? Where's my brush? Push out of this range like we kind of have ish at the moment, and then come back down and retest it. That would be a good entry point for me. Um,
Mm,
then to
I
go
see.
long position straight up there. I would have a really nice and tight stop loss. Depending on how these candles form, it would be literally about 4 or 5%. It's a bit risky. It's not normally how I trade, and I won't trade it, but that's something I would look at if I was forced to trade it, if anything.
Okay.
But what would you do in this situation? It's not really. It
It's
doesn't
so
look
the
like an options trade because the value is so mad. I think.
Yeah, the other problem is, like, if I have to day trade this, right, I have to go on a shorter time scale, right? So I'm looking at what, like a 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour chart. And the issue right now I'm seeing is, like, most of the trend lines. I mean, I don't use the EMA or VWAP for trading because I don't day trade. But if from a day trading side, all the SMAs are basically acting as a resistance. And then, especially at a 1 hour time scale, the stock got rejected multiple times from their 200 SMA. Now that doesn't mean anything, but it's clearly in a downtrend still at a shorter time scale.
Yeah, and if you are going to continue with that downtrend, we're obviously going to break the major trend line, and we're going to start looking towards these gaps. First one around 304, 5-ish, and then the second one looks like it's down about 180.
And you see, the other problem that we have generally with the SaaS names is just the narrative is very negative.
Yeah, Yeah.
So until that narrative shifts, the chance of a downside, the probability of a downside is higher compared to the upside potential.
What do you think it would take for the narrative to shift? Is it just purely just natural switch from another industry to another industry? If that makes sense.
Well, I think like if you saw what happened on Friday, Anthropic Claude is getting into cybersecurity now, so
Mm.
you can do all the scanning, and all the cybersecurity stocks got hammered. Rubrik, Palo Alto, Zscaler, everybody got hammered on that day. And if you notice, all the SaaS stocks have been hammered all the way down. Like Duolingo's has been hammered. It's a SaaS stock. Look at any other SaaS stock. Monday, for example, it's the CNBC folks. They came on. They built out a Monday dashboard just by putting a couple of prompts into Claude, and Claude was able to generate a dashboard. Um, I think that, in my personal opinion, the narrative can only shift when they say that actually the AI agent is going to be on top of the SaaS software or the stack, right? That's going to help, because just by because see, every day these narratives change. That's the problem. If you listen to these jokers at Bloomberg and CNBC, they every day is a new day. Every day there's a new news. One day Claude is winning, next day somebody else is winning, third day somebody else is winning. I don't know where they're having these competitions, but
Yeah, I
that's
mean they've
the
got to
only.
talk about something, haven't they? I guess sometimes they just make it up. Um, okay, we'll move on to the next stock then.
So I'm not
Um,
sure. DC Alpha had a comment. He said
oh,
overvalued, more debt than equity, intrinsic value at about a quarter of the price. I'm not sure if you're referring to Duolingo per se, but that what we are saying is that in general the SaaS companies are getting hammered because of the AI narrative that AI agents are just going to come and take away all SaaS stack. I mean, let me just put this in perspective if it does make sense. There is a concept called digital transformation that the companies in US companies have been trying to do since 2010, which was basically moving from their on-prem infrastructure to cloud. And that's why you see the cloud growth in Amazon and Azure and Google. There's a majority of the companies, mid-size, small-size companies, are still doing on-prem infrastructure. So even that digital transformation concept that was there from 2010 and in the 2010 era where all this growth happened, companies still don't use software. People are still using Excel spreadsheet to make dashboard. Forget about SaaS softwares. So we are way behind, and AI, these are more tech companies first come, they take on the challenge to do these things. Other companies, they don't take these challenges that quickly. They are slow and steady. So anyways, forget about the rant. That was a fast rant. Anyways, moving on. Next is A Lab.
Astera Labs. Um,
Is this what, like
the
is this
biotech
a
company.
Stereo Labs? Is what do they do?
I've done
Semiconductor.
drawings,
Oh,
um, but obviously coming from a dark chart, all my lines were white. So moving to a white chart, all my lines, you can't see them,
I
but now,
disappeared. Huh?
um, yeah, but we have them here now. So
That's a
ALAB,
lot of work for you, man. Every time you're changing the colors.
yeah, get used to it. It's nice. We do have a downside wedge here. Kind of still respecting it, of course. Ugh, I don't really know what to say about the stock, to be honest. We've got a gap down here at 103, so that's worth noting. And we've got a gap up here as well at 181. And then I'll get rid of that line, so there's not too many lines on the screen. So basically, waiting for a break to the upside would be nice here. Does it say anything about the fundamentals? And
Yeah, I mean
does it?
fundamentals. The revenue is increasing. The net income actually did decrease the last quarter compared to the previous quarter. Cash flow has been unsteady as well. I mean, we saw a massive cash flow of 133 million in Q2 of 2025 and then decreased. I think that they are also getting hammered because of the whole AI disruption concerns. I think this is another one of those stocks.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Chart doesn't look good either.
Mhm.
We've broken this trend line to the downside, rejected off it really hard. There's a bit of a support area here. Let me draw that out. But we've also broken down below that recently.
I think this is the yeah. I mean,
104 would be
ideally,
my next
you
one.
would not want to touch.
No, I'm just doing basic technical analysis. I'd have to know about the stock and what they do and what they offer for the future. But from a basic technical level, I wouldn't look at this until 104 at the very least.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Verla, we are getting there. And I'm looking forward to liking it as well. But yeah,
Okay.
LTRX. Okay, what's next?
Next is CrowdStrike.
CrowdStrike. We was touching this a little bit a minute ago in terms of words.
Look
But
at that.
like you say, if Claude's going to take over this particular industry, then these stocks will get hurt from it, won't they?
It's if you think about it, right? When DeepSeek moment happened, the jokers on CNBC were basically writing off Nvidia.
Yeah.
So it's like everything is so extreme in the markets. Is like that really plays out in real life. But then, hey, listen, they will change the narrative. They will come up with some other, news. But that candle was pretty ugly on Friday. You can see that was precisely because that news came out on the cloud.
Yeah, I mean, looking bigger picture as well. The weekly chart, we did break down before. Obviously, the news is a few weeks ago break down just naturally. I think because the market broke down, came back up to kind of retest the level, and then the following week is another push down. And actually closed below these two last weeks as well. So
And
not
this,
good, very not good.
I mean, this close is pretty important because it actually hits a lot of highs from the previous. Like you can go back all the way to 2024 and you see this level has been highs many times throughout 2024 2025. So this is going to be an important level. Now, what if you're planning to start a new position, my personal opinion is to wait and watch, because if the narrative does not change, you will continue to see the stock declining. But that does present a very good opportunity for this particular stock. But I would not touch at this point in time.
No, it's definitely in kind of free fall mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of levels to look at, then, just from a broad perspective, we do have this one down here. It's a bit dramatic, but 295 could be interesting. Previous resistance back in 2021. Support here and support here as well, maybe slightly higher.
Mhm.
We're looking at maybe 300. It's psychological as well. So yeah, maybe 300. We'll see if it takes a big enough downturn for that. But yeah, that's something I'd be looking at for sure. Okay.
Next is NBIS.
This is a popular stock. I've never actually researched it or anything like that.
Oh, this is basically same as CoreWeave.
Okay, right, data centers and stuff. Then.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we're definitely in a range at the moment, by the looks of it. It could be your type of stock here.
I actually don't.
109,
Yeah,
80. Big range, to be fair.
it is. Yeah. I don't trade Nebius. I stick with CoreWeave and Iron. But this is one of the very popular ones.
Yeah, so I think maybe just breaking out of this, it's a bit of a broadening wedge actually. If you look at it like this, here is support, comes into highs here, so that's that. And then the bottom side of it, you've got support all across the bottom here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a broadening wedge. So we could actually see this invalidate completely, and we get a bit of price action back up to the higher end. I know we had a bit of a rough day on Friday, but the higher end of the channel, and then come all the way back down for another little retest, for another push up to 128 or so. It doesn't always happen like that, but it's something that possibly could be looked at. I would probably wait
Leave
for
that drawing.
for that.
Yeah, leave that drawing. Let's see how it plays
Yeah,
out. phone. Leave that drawing.
Do you know what? Sometimes it does actually work. You just random lines on the screen. So we do have support here as well. This would be a really nice place to get in. So if it did, somehow follow my lines, getting in at all this area, and we have stop loss down below these lows, of course, and below obviously the gap fill that would have happened, and then back to highs. You've got a good 6-to-1 trade there, and highs of 81%. I'm also going to leave that on the screen. There you go. We'll come back to that in probably a month's time. And
Next is TSEM. Oh, it's a semiconductor stock. Never heard of it before, but very interesting. TSEM.
It's been going well over the last year.
Yeah.
Since April of last year, like many other stocks. Very well, actually.
Mm-hmm.
What type of? I know you said semiconductor.
Semiconductor
Specific.
Yeah, I'm looking up 1 second.
300% in just under a year. Very tough to beat that.
So it's an independent semiconductor foundry, provides technology development process platform for ICs in US, Japan, rest of Asia, and Europe. I really love the way they write this. They could just say USA, Asia, and Europe, but then they have to throw Japan, rest of Asia. Anyways, the company provides customizable process technology, blah 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 blah. So this is an Israeli company. It's not a US.
It does respect moving averages. Not a lot of stocks do, but you can see on the screen here the 20 being respected quite a lot on the way up. Got a bit shaky here, of course, but then continued its movement up again with a couple more touches. A few dramatic days, obviously the market doing what it does, and then come back down to the 50. Just need to find a little bit of support here on the 50. Like we did a little bit on Friday, to be fair, but obviously intraday kind of knocked off the 20. If we can get out of the 20, that would be ideal. I won't be trading this though because it's just I'm not familiar with it, and of course there's better not better names, but other names I'm more familiar with, like AMD, Nvidia, and that kind of name. So we could have to but I like this is a new one for me. Yeah.
All right.
The downside, though, however, we've got gap filled down to 84. Bit of a dramatic move, but we like drama here, which is the 200 moving average will probably come up at that sort of time. So if we do get a market free fall, then that would be definitely something to look forward to if you are a fan of Tower Semiconductor long term. We'll move on then to
next is Clean Spark.
CLSK.
Let's see.
I don't even know where to start with this one.
Yeah, I mean, it has a short interest of 31% or 32%. So let's start with that.
It's so volatile. I mean, it's literally in the last 3 months, it's come down from 22 down to 9. That's not a bit of me. That is. Do you like this? You have mentioned it, I swear. Before.
Yeah, I have. I have traded Clean Spark a few times, and I think at this point in time, what I want to see is, let me add a few things on my side. 1 second. I would like to have this respect this at least this 950 960 range, but the key is this downtrend line that we are seeing, right? I mean, if that gets again rejected from that, we'll see another downtrend on this, and all your moving averages are sitting on top of it as a resistance. Let's see when the earnings is. It's 5/8. Yeah, it's in May. So I think if you notice, right? I mean, until Bitcoin, changes the trajectory, I don't see how these stocks are going to go back to its all-time highs or make a trend shift. Because if Bitcoin prices are down, then the mining stocks will also be down.
Now, I've created one hell of a mess on this screen, but let me explain. You have the moving averages kind of flowing through the middle of the screen here. You touched on that. That's going to act as resistance one way or another, whether it be the 20, the 50, whatever. So let's get rid of them. Let's clear up the chart a bit. So we've already established that we're below the moving averages. We're below this trend line as well. Quite a major trend line that has been happening for just under a year now. What I would like to see is obviously it to come back up and kind of retest that same trend line. Hasn't quite done that yet. Maybe we get that in the next few days. But actually, ultimately, this is a head and shoulders pattern. Near enough. Obviously, you've got a couple of shoulders here, but overall, the move is valid. So if we do break this $9 level to the downside, I do see further downside, perhaps maybe towards kind of 657. So yeah, just be careful if you're trading this or you want to trade this for upside. Just be aware of those factors, the moving averages, and obviously what I've just explained on the screen.
So I think if the
Okay.
rejection happens, one of the ways I would say would be an idea would be actually buying leap calls on this one, on those red days, because that's when you get those discounts.
Yeah. So you're talking about if the move comes down to 657,
Yeah,
that's when you go long. Yeah.
yeah,
On big red days, of course.
yeah.
I've done that a few times in the last couple of months. Obviously, I've started leap trading this year, and I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
It's good. It's eye-opening. It's not that fun, of course, because you're waiting long term, but the prospect of buying a leap is quite amusing to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Next up is
IoT.
IoT.
Not heard of this one before. We have done some drawings because I've got something here.
Samsara. I think we have.
That move actually played out by the looks of it. That was August of last year, though.
So they report earnings. Not this week. The following week they report earnings on 3/5.
What do they actually do?
They are into application software. So they provide solutions to connect physical operational data to its connected operational platform in US and internationally. They provide a data platform, aggregate data, enriches data for IoT devices, and a glowing ecosystem of connected assets and third-party systems. Okay.
So they only came on the market end of 2021. In terms of volume, there's just not much here at the moment. Maybe down to kind of 18, 19. They do have a bit of price action here, but in terms of finding support, it's tricky because there's not a lot of data on the screen here. It's just a weekly chart. We did have a big break of that trend line, as you can see on the screen there. Tricky to see upside. Well, you can see upside, but it's tricky to know where to get in for that upside. So I'll be staying away from this one for now. Sorry, JCP. Okay, let's move on to probably our last stock of the day, right?
Yes.
Second to last.
Well, we got a
Johnson
second
Surface
last. Yes.
Coin. Still the best name that we've had. What was it? LTRX. This is the one that Randy
LTRX.
really wants me to see.
Yeah.
Lantronics. Would you be able to see what they do?
Yes, I'm pulling up 1 second.
Awesome.
So they are an ETF. LTRAX. Is that the one? No.
LTRX.
Oh,
Lantronics.
sorry, not AX. Okay. LTRX. Okay, Lantronics. So short interest is 1.37. That's amazing. Let's see what they do. So they're in communication equipments. They develop, market, and sell industrial and enterprise IoT products and services in US, Americas, Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia Pacific, Japan. The company's embedded IoT solution provides embedded products, including compute system on module. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Interesting. Let's see their financials quickly. So the company brings about 30 million, let's say, give or take, on a quarterly basis. The company is still not profitable because net income is still, they're losing money. About 1.3 million they lost last quarter, but it's reducing, so they're on the right trend. They do have decent They have about $2 million of free cash flow, considering they're bringing 29 million in revenue. It's a small company for sure.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
interesting.
the sector is also being weighted down. Reports that Oracle delayed some data center projects for OpenAI. So I think they have some relationship with Oracle. They're probably one of the vendors for Oracle for the build out for the data center.
Okay. Um, Chart wise, I can't really see a lot to get excited about right now. That's the monthly. Go down to the weekly. There's a few lines I've drawn. So obviously the kind of bigger term trend line. If we do come back down to that, we kind of retested it and moved from that already. But if we came back down to 450, perhaps that might be interesting because we have a trend line coming through up on the bottom here. It wouldn't quite meet, of course, but somewhere in this range between, as I mentioned, 450 and 5 could be interesting to go forward. I had to dig in. I've just added it to the watch list, as people probably saw. Um, but I'd have to do a bit more digging into this one for sure because it seems a bit more like a potential for the long term type stock. But it's gone on a massive move already, even from last May, gone from $2 all the way up to highs of $8. So it's kind of already done its thing. Doesn't mean to say obviously it can't stop there. These stocks they do kind of move like that. But yeah, I'll have to look into this one a bit more. Thank you, Verla, for bringing this one up. We'll move on to a little one unless you
TDAY.
have anything else to say about this stock. Sorry.
No. I think
No.
you covered it pretty well.
T Day, last
Yeah, this
one
is the
to.
USA Today.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, they do the. So seems like the reason for this up move or is basically they announced a multi-year strategic partnership with Meta to access news and archival content from USA Today. So that's one of the latest news.
This
On
could be interesting. I want
Shaun, turn up your mic, or Kate, turn down your mic. Kate is twice as loud as Shaun. Holy cow!
I have just turned my mic up a little bit. How does that sound? Um, I think it is honestly because I'm actually slightly quieter. No offense, Kay. I've just got a bit more of a monotone voice. I think that's just how it is.
Can
But
you
I've
hear?
turned myself up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay,
um,
I will whisper.
this this stock has barely been on the market. It started in December of last year,
Hmm.
but I like this. I don't trade stocks until they have at least 18 months worth of run through price action, typically. But you can clearly see a setup that I like to take: a breakout, a retest, a move higher. Where that move higher takes you, I have no idea. Um, but of course, that's it's in price discovery mode at that point. But you can have a nice tight stop loss, and then you could just let it run forever. Obviously, if it goes forever, it might come back down and stop out. That's part of trading. But yeah, there's good possibilities here for sure. But the highly likelihood of stock that of this level is that it will snap back and stop you out. There's about 90% positive that will probably happen, but you never know. These stocks can be had um, in a kind of smaller portions of your portfolio. But I'm gonna add this to my watch list for sure. Thank you
And
very much,
yeah, and then
Dolphin Fisher Surfing.
this is really a small cap because this is not even a $1 billion market cap.
Excessive debt, DC Alpha says he's obviously done a bit of research while we're on air now, so
Yeah, I mean
maybe not.
they they lost. I mean they were in lost $39 million. They lost last quarter. Free cash flow is dwindling. It dropped from 17 million to 4 million, 4.87.
Oof, the burning through.
Cash and debt, right? So cash has been going down. Debt has at least it's inched down a little bit in the last 3 quarters, but not substantially. Like from 919, they went to 902. So they are improving, but still, I mean, it's not OpenAI or it's not like a tech company, right? Where the growth story is there. It's a news channel. or it's a news agency, USA Today.
Yeah, so that's what you've just spoken through. There's now on the screen. Revenue declining, net income negative, cash and debt. Debt is coming down, but it's still very, very high. Yeah, I don't know.
Let me ask you this.
Technically, it looks good though.
Not for trading perspective, but think about this, like, down the road, you know what if Meta eventually goes and buys out this company? This is like less than $1 billion company.
Yeah, and I guess that's what they're hoping for. That's the connection, isn't it?
Because
Okay.
eventually, I think there will be more consolidation, unless you have these FTC folks getting involved and saying, no, no, this is an antitrust issue. But that's something to, I mean, unless you are really interested in this area of the industry. Like, I don't follow news, these kind of stocks, but I mean, that could be something that Meta would eventually want to own, like have their own news agencies, right?
Yeah, there's potential there, isn't there? I guess that's
Like
what
Jeff
really appealed to
Bezos
this
owns
company.
the Washington Post, right?
Mm. Yeah, we'll look out for that particular move on TDAY. I've put it onto my watch list. I'm no doubt probably come up in the future as well if we get the same viewers as we quite often do. Thank you for everyone that has tuned in today. It's been a really good session, really fun. We had Verla on the stream, Nihalala with Money Manager, of course. DC Alpha chipping in with a few comments here and there. Golfing Fishers Surfingman, I can never say it, but it's my favourite name. Coming in as well, and Jason at the end giving me a little bit of advice to turn up my mic, which I really do appreciate. We appreciate any feedback we can get, of course. And, anything to improve the stream. Makes a lot of sense. We're going to be off next week because I am in Rome.
Ooh.
We are going to be, having lots of pizza, pasta, wine, coffee, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So stay tuned on my X. I might post a few pictures there. Well, I will post a few pictures there on X.
Well,
But
now we
yeah,
definitely need the picture, because now you need to prove us that you are in Rome.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm definitely going to Rome. Don't worry. But yeah, hang around on my X as well at Shaun Trades underscore, and obviously likewise hang around for Invest K as well. At Invest K, always posting really good information around the markets. Of course, massive thank you to Wolf as well for actually the platform. We really, really appreciate it. Lots of viewers in today, which we obviously massively appreciate. A couple of weeks. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Anything to finish off here, Kay?
No, I think next week's going to be pretty exciting. I mean, I'm definitely waiting for the Nvidia earnings, right? I mean, that could really change the market. It hasn't done so in the last few quarters, or at least few last earnings. Like, it has been pretty dull, I guess, the earnings. So we are hoping that this might be the change. I'm not gonna hope too high, but I really do think that Nvidia has the capability to change the market narrative.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, given the proportion that they have in the SPY and QQQ, it makes a lot of sense. Whatever will happen on Wednesday evening will dictate the next, at least the next couple of weeks of the market, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, Apple couple of years back was used to drive the market, right? Wherever Apple used to go, the market would go that way. So now, I mean,
Yeah,
Nvidia definitely is in that seat. Apple no
Nvidia,
longer is, but Nvidia is still is there.
Nvidia has taken the wheel from Apple. Of course, there's lots of other earnings as well. So be careful out there if you're trading these tickers. Maybe if you're slightly hesitant towards a particular trade, don't take it. Sit on your hands. Come back the week after. And obviously, just finishing off the stream here, we've got Fancy here from Verla. I know, yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be good fun. We've got thanks, guys. I was late. Thanks for doing my ticker. No problem at all. Make sure you come in nice and early in 2 weeks' time so you can get all of your tickers in and burning some profits. Yes, I will be burning some profits. I've had a few of them this year, so I think it's okay to do so.
Do you know
That's
when I
why we
was in?
trade. That's
You
why we
know when
trade.
the last time I went to Rome was in 2020, right before COVID started. I
Really?
left Rome the week. So I think I left on a Tuesday, and then Thursday was when they did the lockdown.
No way. Really.
I
I had the same
escaped.
sort of
Yeah.
thing. I had the same thing, but for Norway. I came back
You were in
a
Norway.
week
Yeah.
before lockdown. Yeah. So we both got pretty lucky there. I'm sure lots of people didn't get very lucky. But of course, we're in new times now. The world's kind of moved on and done what it's doing. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit. Take care, everyone. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see you there. Take care
Take
and
care.
trade